Good morning to all of you. Today we are continuing our steel structure or the design system and structure. Now, in the last class we have studied about the various bolted joints. Now we are going to cover the various failures in the bolted joint and the other topics also. Now, what are the various failures of the bolted joint? The failure of the bolted joint will be occurred due to the shear failure of the bolt, due to the shear failure of the plate, due to the bearing failure of the bolt, due to the bearing failure of the plate, due to the tension failure of the bolt, and due to the tension failure of the plate. Now, what are the reasons due to which it can be failed? Now, what is the reason for the tension failure for the bolt? It is due to the axial tension. Now, what is the specification for the bolted joint? Now, we have to go through the IS 800. We have to go through the code IS 800. So from that, there is clearly the dia of the bolt hole has been given in that. Suppose there is dia of bolt hole is 12 to 14 mm, then what should be the nominal dia? The nominal dia will be 12 mm for if you are using 12 mm bolt, and if you are using 14 mm bolt, it will be 14 mm. Now, in case of dia of the hole, the dia of the hole will be increased by plus 1 mm. So 12 plus 1 will be 13, and for 14 it will be added to 15. So when the dia of the bolt hole will increase, suppose it is 16 to 24, then again the dia of the hole will be increased by plus 2 mm. So if we have 16 mm dia for bolt hole, then what is the dia of the hole? It will be 16 plus 2, that is 18 mm. In case of now from 16 to 24 mm, it will be increased by plus 2. Suppose there is a nominal dia that is having 20, then the dia of the hole will be equal to 22. Now, if it is 24, then the dia of the hole will be equal to 26. Now, in case that if the dia of the bolt hole will be greater than 24 mm, then we have to add 3 mm. Now, if there is 30 mm dia of the bolt hole, then what should be the dia of the hole? It will be equal to 30 plus 3, that is 33 mm. For one more example, suppose 36 mm is the dia of the bolt hole, then the dia of the hole will be 39 mm. Now I think it will be clear. Now coming to what is pitch and what is gauge. Now pitch is the distance between the two consecutive bolts in the direction of the force that is applied. And what is gauge? Gauge is the distance between the two consecutive bolts that is perpendicular to the direction of the force. This is what basic idea about the pitch and the gauge. Now coming to the what is the minimum pitch and the gauge distance. Now if the question will be asked in the objective form, generally it will ask what is the minimum pitch, what is the maximum pitch. So you have to go through the code. In the code, it is given what should be the minimum length of the pitch, what should be the gauge distance. So minimum pitch gauge will be always equal to 2.5 D. Now here D will be nominal dia of the bolt. So just remember it. The minimum pitch or the gauge will be 2.5 into D. D is the nominal dia of the bolt. Now, why we are going to provide the minimum pitch? Why we are going to provide the minimum pitch? To prevent the bearing failure of the member between the two bolts. Suppose there are two bolts and the distance between the two bolts is very large or is very minimum, so that it can not going to take the bearing load, so it can be failed through the bearing failure. So to prevent the bearing failure of the member between the two bolts. And one more reason is to ensure the effective installation of the bolt. Now coming to the what is the maximum pitch and the gauge distance. Now for tension member, it is very compulsory that for tension member, the pitch distance should not be greater than equal to or should not be greater than 16 T. T is again the thickness of the thinner member. Now one more thing is pitch should not be greater than 16 T and 200 mm, whichever is minimum. Suppose 16 T is minimum, you will take 16 T, or the 200 mm will be minimum, you can take the 200. Now in case of compression member, what should be the maximum pitch and the gauge distance? The P should not be greater than equal to 12 T in case of compression and 200 mm. Again, out of that, both of two, what should be the minimum? So this is what in case of tension you will take 16 T and 200 mm, and in case of compression you will take 12 T and 200 mm. This is what the basic thing that you have to remember. Now coming to this is what about the pitch. Now coming to the gauge distance. Now what should be the gauge distance? Gauge distance should not be greater than equal or should not be greater than 32 T and 300 mm, whichever is the minimum. So gauge, again the gauge will not greater than equal to 32 T, that is again the thickness of the thinner member, and 300 mm. Now coming to what should be the minimum edge and the end distance. Now end and the edge distance, the minimum edge and the end distance will be equal to 1.7 multiplied by d naught. Here the d naught is what? D naught is the dia of the bolt hole. Now in case this is in case of 1.7, d naught in case of hand cut edge. Suppose you are using using the bolt, and the minimum edge distance will be provided with the help of hand driven bolt. Now in case of machine cut edge bolt, you will take 1.5 into d naught. So in case of hand cut edge, then you will take to minimum edge or the end distance, that will be 1.7 multiplied by d naught. And in case of when you are using machine or machine at cut bolt will be there, then you are going to use 1.5 d naught. Now coming to the maximum end and the edge distance, this will be equal to 12 multiplied by t multiplied by epsilon. Now what is t? T is the thickness of the thinner member, and epsilon will be equal to, I have told you, epsilon will be equal to under root 250 upon fy. It will depend on the grade of the steel. So you should remember the maximum distance, edge distance, or minimum end distance. Maximum end distance will be equal to that is again 12 into t into e, sorry, epsilon. Now t will be the thickness of the thinner member, and epsilon will be equal to under root of 250 upon fy. That will be depend on the grade of the steel. Now one more thing that you have to, when the members are exposed to the corrosive environment, and then maximum end or the edge distance will not be greater than equal to, or not be greater than 4t and 40 mm. So you have to remember this. These things will be asked in your exam. So this has been given in your code. Now coming to one more thing. Now coming to the some little bit about the rivet. Now there is one more thing for maximum pitch and minimum pitch. If you are going to use the tack rivet. Now what is tack rivet? Tack rivet or the tack bolt is those bolts. Suppose you have connected the two plates. You have connected these two plates by another plate. Now another plate or the another two plates you have connected. Now the another two plate that you have connected, they are free. They are not connected to anything. Now what will happen when the load will apply? It will not act as a single member. So what will happen? These two plates that you have joined apart from the main plate, that two plate will going to not take the load combined. So what will happen? You have to just connect the other the plate that you have connected with the tack riveting or the tack bolt. So this is what the tacking rivet. Now in case of tacking rivet, again you have to take the maximum pitch that will be greater than 32t or 300 mm, whichever is the minimum. Now if the member is not exposed to the weather, then the maximum pitch should be greater than 16t or 200 mm, whichever is minimum. This is member when member is exposed to weather. Okay, this is what the case. Now coming to the how we are going to do the analysis of the bolted joint. What are the assumption in the analysis of the bolted joint? Now the first assumption is the friction between the plate is neglected and the load is resisted by the bolt in bearing and shearing. You have to just neglect the friction that is acting between the bolt in bearing and shearing. Now coming to the second assumption, in the case of bolt, if the thread occur in the plane of the shear, effective area resisting shear as will be taken as the root of thread. That the root of thread will going to take the that is going to resist the maximum force. Now coming to the third assumption, the applied load is equally distributed in all the holes. You have to know that when you are providing the hole, the load should be equally distributed. Then only you will the member will act. Then the member will act or take the load more comfortably. Now coming to the fourth assumption, the distribution of the stress or the position of the plate between the bolt holes is always uniform. Okay. Now coming to the next, that is the bending stress in the bolt is neglected because there is a stress between bolts also, so that will be neglected. Now bearing the bearing stress taken by the bolt will be considered as or will be assumed as the uniform. This is what the basic assumption. Now coming to the design strength of the bolt, there are two types of design shear strength of the bolt and the design bearing strength of the bolt. Now you will take the minimum of 2. This is design shear strength of the bolt will be given by design shear strength of the bolt will be given by VNSB. That is the again nominal shear strength of the bolt divided by the gamma MB. Now what is gamma MB? Gamma MB is the partial safety factor for the bolt that is generally taken as 1.25. I have told you there is a in the last lecture I have told you the various factors that is going to govern. Now coming to the what is design bearing strength of the bolt. Now design bearing strength of the bolt will be equal to nominal bearing strength of the bolt divided by again gamma mb. So this is what the basic. Now what is the formula for design shear strength of the bolt, as we have already studied. So this is what the revision that you will just listen it and you will go through that. So what is the design shear strength of the bolt? That will be again FUB ultimate. So if there is ultimate, then you have to divide it by under root 3. So FUB under root 3, FUB divided by under root 3 divided by gamma mb multiplied by NN A and B. NN is the number of shear plane. A and B is the area of net area of bearing. What the bearing stress is coming to that area plus NS into ASB. Again, NS is the shearing plane multiplied by ASB. That is the strength of bearing. So this is what basic formula that you have to use. Now coming to the next, that is design bearing strength of the bolt. This will be given by 2.5 kb dt into FU divided by gamma mb. So this is what you are going to take the 2.5 multiplied by the what the bearing strength that is coming to your structure. This is what the basic idea that you are going to use. Now this is how you are going to use the how you are going to find out the bearing strength. Now coming to the design strength of the bolt. Now what is design strength of the bolt? Now you have to know that plate may be failed by the shearing of the plate, yielding of the plate, or rupture of the plate, or the block shear failure of the plate. Now what is shearing of the plate? Shearing of the plate is to ensure the safety in the shearing of plate. Provide sufficient end distance will be provided. If you will not provide a sufficient end distance, then the shearing will occur. So you have to provide the proper end distance. Now coming to the design strength of the plate and yielding. Now what is the formula for the yielding? That is will be Fy multiplied by Ag divided by gamma m0. I have told you Ag is the gross area of the plate, gamma m0 is 1.10. Now what is the design strength of the plate in rupture? This is again given by 0.9. I have told you you have to reduce the 10% factor, that is multiplied by 0.9. So 0.9 Fu divided by gamma m1 multiplied by net effective area of the plate, because rupture will be done on the net effective area. So this is how you are going to find out the design strength of the plate in rupture. Now coming to the block shear failure. Again, I have told you in block shear failure, what the total plate is trying to make a block and it will try to tear. So here the weak plane is yielding and the stronger plane is rupture. So this will be given by shear yielding plus tension rupture. So for shear yielding, that will be Fy into Ag divided by under root 3 gamma m0, plus in tension rupture it will be 0.9 Fu A divided by gamma m1. So this is what the total formula for the block shear. And now coming to the what is the efficiency of the joint. As we know that efficiency of the joint will be equal to the strength of the joint divided by the strength of the solid plate multiplied by the 100. Now what should be the strength of the solid plate? That will be due to the yielding criteria. Now we have to find out all the failures and we will just divide it by the strength of the solid plate and we will get the efficiency of the joint. Now there is one more formula that you are going to use, that is Unwin's formula. Now what is Unwin's formula? That will be going to find out the nominal dia of the bolt. That will be 6.05 into thickness of the plate being connected. So that will be T minimum. So this is what this is of the tensile nature. Now how you are going to do the arrangement of the bolt? As we know that the most economical is the diamond bolting. So you can use the diamond bolting also. For that there are various types of bolt. Now coming to the next topic, that is eccentric loaded connection. Now what is eccentric loaded connection? Eccentric loaded connection will be done by the help of two methods. Now first one is direct load and the twisting moment. Second one is direct load and the bending moment. Now what should be the direct load and the twisting moment? If we are going to combine the load, that is combine the force from the twisting and the direct load, that will be going to give in a resultant force. That will be Fr will be equal to under root of Fd square plus Ft square plus 2 Ft into cos theta. Now Fd is direct shear force and Ft is the torsional force. Now the most critical bolt are those which are the farthest from the center of gravity of the bolt group, in which the angle between the Fd and Ft is less. As we know that the angle between the Fd, that is the direct shear force, and the torsional force in between, if the angle is very less, then you will have the most critical section. This is what basic idea. Now coming to the direct load and the bending moment, what should be the formula for that? We are going to use the interaction curve. for that. Now, as we know that bending moment is P multiplied by the eccentricity, so it will be given by VSB upon VDB ka whole square plus TSB upon TDB ka whole square. It should be always less than equal to 1. Now, in case of welded connection, as we have discussed about the only the bolted connection. Now coming to the what is welded connection. Various types of welded connections are provided with the help of butt weld, fillet weld, plug weld, slot weld. Now what is butt weld? Butt weld is also known as groove weld. Now when the member are joined in the one line of action, that is known as butt weld. It may be of various types: square butt welding, single butt weld, double single V butt weld, double V butt weld, and many others are there. Now here the complete penetration will be occur. So we have to consider the total thickness, and we have to provide some extra material in this and do the welding. And incomplete penetration will also occur in this. In incomplete penetration value not given, if the value is not given for the incomplete penetration, then you can directly consider the 5/8 of the thickness of the minimum of the main plate. This is what basic idea about butt weld. Now coming to the fillet weld. What is fillet weld? End fillet weld is generally stronger than the side fillet weld, but according to the IS 800 code, there is no difference between the end and the side fillet weld. So when you are going to provide the end fillet, then also you have to provide the side fillet weld. There is no difference between them. Now fillet weld is always assumed to resist the load by the shearing action on its throat. Suppose you have to connect by the welding. Now how you are going to connect it? Connect it like this. Suppose this is the part of the welding that you have done. So this is known as, suppose in the triangular form. So what should be done? This is known as throat. Throat reason will be this. So you have to provide the size of the weld and the throat thickness. That is what in case of welding. Now coming to the various welding symbols has been there. So fillet weld like triangle, square fillet weld like two parallel lines, and V will be single V. Butt weld you will go through the code like this. Okay. Now coming to the design of butt weld. Now what is the formula for the design of butt weld? That will be TDW will be equal to Fy LWT divided by gamma MW. Now here what is Fy? Fy is the yielding strength of the weld or the parent metal. LW is the effective length of the weld. T will be the throat thickness, and gamma MW will be equal to, I have told you, partial safety factor, that will be 1.25, and I have told you in case of what? In case of welding, for field welding, it will be gamma MF will be equal to partial safety factor will be equal to 1.50. That is very important because this is one different thing. Now coming to the design of fillet weld. What is design of fillet weld? Fillet weld will be provided in the various. Suppose you have to first provide the size of the weld. What should be the size of the weld? Maximum size of the weld will always be equal to the thickness minus 1.5 mm. Now T will be equal to the thickness of the thinner plate. So the formula for the maximum size of the weld will be equal to T minus 1.5 mm. Now what should be the maximum? There are various types of weld. Suppose you are providing the square edge, then the maximum size will be 6.5. That will be 6.5. And in case of, suppose there is a round edge, then you will provide the maximum size of the weld, that will be 3/4 minimum, the 3/4 of the minimum thickness of the plate that you are going to be used. Now what should be the minimum size of the weld? The minimum size of the weld will be specified in the code as from the thickness of the plate that you are going to use. Suppose you are going to use 0 to 10 mm, then minimum size of the weld will be 3 mm. If 10 to 20 mm, then the minimum size will be 5 mm. 20 to 32 mm, the minimum size of the weld will be 6 mm. And from 32 to 50 mm, you can use minimum size 8 mm or 10 mm. This is what the basic idea. Now coming to the effective throat thickness. What should be the effective throat thickness? Effective throat thickness will be equal to K multiplied by S. Now what is K? K is the constant dependent on the angle of friction, because there will be angle between the weld that you are going to provide, and S will be the size of the weld that we have considered. Now according to the angle, what are the various values of the K? Suppose there is angle is 60 to 90 degree. Then what generally if the angle is less than 60 degree, then we are not going to provide any weld. Okay, so starting from the 60 degree to 90 degree, what should be the value of the K? It will be 0.70. And from 91 to 100 degree, it will be 0.65. From 101 to 106 degree, it will be 0.60. And from 107 degree to 113 degree, it will be 0.55. And from 114 degree to 120 degree, it will be 0.50. This is what the basic idea about the design of the fillet weld. Now coming to the what should be the angle between this, that will be theta will always be less, sorry, if theta is less than 60 degree or theta is greater than 120 degree, then the fillet weld are not recommended. It is clear. Now coming to the effective length of the weld, what should be the effective length of the weld? Effective length of the weld will be equal to overall length minus twice the size of the weld. This effective length will be equal to L minus 2S. That will be not less than 4 multiplied by the size of the weld. Okay. Now coming to effective area. Effective area will be given by LE multiplied by the TE. LE is the effective length of the weld and TE will be the effective throat thickness. Now coming to overlap. Overlap should not be less than 40 or 40 mm. Now coming to the design strength of the fillet weld, as I have told you, the formula PW will be given by LWTE into FU. If there is FU, then you have to divide it by under root 3 multiplied by gamma m. Okay. Now coming to the design of intermittent weld. Now design strength of fillet weld will be based on the effective area. Now coming to the intermittent weld, that is not used for the dynamic and repetitive load. So where you are not having the dynamic and repetitive load, you can use the intermittent weld. Now here the tension should be, I have told you, in case of tension, there must not be greater than equal to 16T or 200. That will be the spacing or the pitch or the gauge that you are going to use. Now in case of compression member, again it should not be greater than equal to or greater than 20, 300 mm. Sorry, 200 mm, whichever is the minimum. Now one more welding will be there, plug and the slot welding, where we are going to use the provide slot welding, where the length we have to increase the length or the increase the parameter. Then here the width should not be less than 3T, 25 mm. This whatever the maximum amount of that. Now T will be the thickness of the plate in which the slot is made. Now this is what the basic idea about the fillet weld or the welding bolted connection. Now coming to the slenderness ratio, as we have discussed about the tension member. Now I have already told you what is the tension member. Now I am going to revise what are the few important things that you have to remember. Now I have told you that according to the type of tension member, we have maximum slenderness ratio. Suppose the tension member in which the reversal of the stresses due to the load other than the wind or the seismic forces are there, then you have to use the maximum slenderness ratio, that will be 180. Now member normally acting as a tie or a roof truss or a bracing system, but subject to the possible reversal of the stress resulting from the action of the wind or the seismic forces. Here we are going to take the maximum slenderness ratio as 350. Now coming to the tension member other than the pre-tension member, then we are going to use the maximum slenderness ratio as 400. Now coming to the shear lag effect, I have told you when the angle section are connected, then when there is connecting leg and the outstanding leg. For outstanding leg, what has happened? There is some all the loads are coming to the connection, but the shear force that is going to act at the outstanding leg will be less. So there will be shear lag effect will be there. So for that you have to also consider angle section side of the gusset plate, but not the tack riveting will be there. So here you have to find out the shear lag effect, and you have in the outstanding leg there will be no shear lag effect, so you can reduce the shear force. So this is what the case of in the tension member. Now coming to one more thing that you are going to use as a lug angle. Lug angle is used to reduce the length of the connection. Suppose the length of the connection is very large, then you can use the lug angle also. So now coming to the according to various according to the code, there are several various methods has been given to you. Now this is what the basic idea about the tension member. Now coming to the what is compression member. Compression member is what? Member which carry axial compressive load in the longitudinal direction. Now various types of compression member are there. Section will be there. The vertical compression member in the RCC is generally termed as the column, whereas steel design termed as the station. Now what is strut? The compression member in the roof truss and bracing is called the strut. Now what is boom? The principal compression member in a crane is called a boom. What are the modes of the failure in column? There are various types of failure. I have told you squashing will be there in short columns. Column yield due to the heavy loads. Now what is local buckling? Local buckling will be failure occur by one or more plate element. Now flexural buckling, buckling of the member due to the bending or flexure about the axis having the last slenderness ratio, that will be due to on the minor axis. Now what is torsional buckling? Generally occurs in the double symmetrical section. This is basic idea about. Now one more thing is flexure torsional buckling. This type of failure occurs generally in case of unsymmetrical bending due to the combined action of the flexure and the torsion. Now I have told you what should be the effective length. In case of, if the it will depend on the end condition. If the both ends are fixed, then the theoretical value of the effective length will be 0.5, but IS code provision has given the different, that is 0.65 L. Now coming to the one is end is hinge and one is fixed, then L by root 2, 0.7 L will be the theoretical value, and in IS code that is 0.8 L. Now if the both ends are hinge, then L effective will be the L, and in IS code provision also L. Now when one end is fixed, other end is free, then theoretical value is 2L, and the again IS code provision is 2L. Now coming to one end is, now this is what the basic idea about L effective. Now coming to why we are going to provide the slenderness ratio, or the slenderness ratio should be limited for the what is the reason for that? To account for the accidental or eccentric loading. This is what the case, that why we are going to limited the slenderness ratio to take care of the probability of the members being subjected to an unexpected vibration. Now again in case of compression member, then there will be the maximum slenderness ratio according to the type of the member. Suppose a member is carrying a compressive load resulting from the dead load or the live load, the maximum slenderness ratio value is 180. Now the tension member in which the reversal of the direct tension is due to the load other than the wind or earthquake load, again the maximum slenderness ratio will be equal to 180. Now a tension member subject to compressive load due to the wind and the earthquake, then the slenderness, maximum slenderness ratio will be equal to 250. And the member normally acting at the tension member but is subjected to the possible stress reversal resulting from the wind and the earthquake, that will be 350. Now if the compression member is flange of the beam, then you will take the 300. Now coming to the this is what the basic idea about the what is the design style of structure, or you can name it as design system and structure. This is what the basic idea about all the things that we have studied till date. Now coming to one more thing that we have not studied, that is what I have just left. What are the beams? Now there will be beams also in the case of steel structure. Now it is what is beam? It is a structural member carrying the transverse loading, as we know that. Classification of the flexor members will be joist, closely spaced beam to support room. What is girder? A larger beam supporting a number of the joists. Now purlin, beam provided over the trusses to provide roofing between the adjacent trusses. What is lintel? Beam supporting the wall over door or the window. Now coming to the lateral stability of the beam, as it is mentioned in your syllabus, that lateral or unrestrained beam or laterally unsupported beam. So there are two types of lateral stability of the beam. One is lateral unstrained beam and another one is lateral restrained beam. Now what is lateral restrained beam? By making compression flanges heaviest by inserted beam in RCC slab, that you can make the beam as a restored. So this is what the basic idea that we are going to use. Now this is, here we are going to find out the shear strength of the beam, that will be given by VD equal to AV multiplied by Fy divided by under root 3 gamma m0. Now here we are going to check for the deflection also. So this is what the serviceability criteria. Now we have to calculate the deflection, that will be always less than equal to permissible deflection, that will be spanned by 300. So coming to the web buckling. Now again, what is web buckling or what is local buckling? It is web crippling or the local buckling of the web caused by the compressive stress delivered to the flange. Through the flange. Suppose there is an I section. I section will be there. When the load will be applied to this section, the area is large, so the load can be taken. But when there is a case of web, then what will happen? The load is coming high, so it will try to buckle from the root of the fillet of the web. So this is known as web buckling. When the buckling will be there or crippling will be there, it will be also known as web crippling. So web crippling, particularly in case of web, then it is known as web buckling. So the root of the fillet is most critical location through of the failure. Normally the beam is safe in crippling, it will be safe in buckling also. Agar if crippling is safe hai, to buckling is safe hai. Lekin agar buckling is safe nahi hai, to we have to check again for the crippling. So this is what the basic idea. Now coming to the plate girders. This will give you a concept of the plate girders. Now plate girders are also known as welded plate girder. What are the elements of the plate girder? Flange, web and stiffeners. Now, what are the particular role of the flange? Flange is going to resist the bending moment. Web is going to resist the shear force, and stiffeners are of various types. Suppose as stiffness may be horizontal, intermediate, or end stiffness will be there. They have different work. Suppose stiffener. Why we are going to provide the stiffener? To safeguard the web against local buckling. We have transverse stiffener, longitudinal stiffener. Now in transfers there are end stiffener and vertical stiffener. What are the end stiffener? The stiffener provided at the support, and the vertical stiffener are under the point load. Now coming to the longitudinal stiffener, when there are two horizontal stiffener at the in the point 2, we will take the depth of the point 2, then other than the mid depth, otherwise the single stiffener or the 0.4d you will provide. If two horizontal stiffeners provided, first horizontal stiffener provided at it means that when you are providing the stiffeners, then the distance between them is 0.2d, and if you are providing more than one, then you will provide the 0.4d. So this is what the basic idea. Now what should be the self weight of the plate girder? Plate girder will be always equal to W divided by 200. That will be the total factor load on the plate girder. Now what should be the economical depth? Economical depth will be given by mk gamma m naught divided by fy ki power 1 by 3. That will be k is the T by Tw, m is the bending moment, d by Tw will be less than equal to 8.5. If it is less than 8.5, then there is no use of the stiffness. You can unstiffen the plate girder. If d by Tw will be equal to 85 to 200, then you have to provide the vertical stiffener. And if it is greater than 200, then you have to provide the horizontal stiffener. This is what basic idea about the plate girder. Now coming to the gantry girder. Gantry girder, basic design for the crane girder and the cabin load. Example, you have seen the sugar mill. There all the cases will be used. Now what are the types of the loads that the gantry girder is going to take? It will going to take the vertical load, impact load, horizontal load, lateral load along the vertical deflection. But it is not going to take any wind load. Now limit to prevent again wear and tear. It is limited to prevent against wear and tear. Now what should be the deflection limit on the gantry girder? Maximum deflection should be there according to, if there is vertical deflection, that is normally operated crane. Generally you have seen the crane. In manually operated crane, the maximum deflection will be spent by 500. In electrically operated plane, up to the 500 kilonewton load, you can use the maximum deflection spent by 750. If it is electrically operated crane, that is above 500 kilonewton load, that you have to take span by 1000. Now coming to economical depth, what should be the economical depth? That will be 1 by 12th of the span. Compression flange width will be 1 by 30 of the stem, and the lateral deflection will be done for the 10. This is what the basic idea about the steel sector. These are in very detail. You have to not read so many things, plate girder or gantry girder. I have just make you that what are the basic idea about that. This is what the basic thing. Now one more topic is there in the steel that you are not going to study in that, but in civil engineering there is one more topic, that is industrial building, how we are going to provide the industrial building. So in industrial building you have to provide the purlins, rafters, columns, girds. Now what are the assumption in design of the angle of purlins? That when you are designing the purlins, then the slope should not be exceed 30°, and the pitch for, if the slope is not exceeded 30, then the pitch will be designed. Maximum bending moment in the purlin may be taken as WL by 10, and load shall be assumed as acting normal to the roof. Bending above the minor axis may be neglected. Now what should be the economical spacing of the truss? It will depend on the cost of the purlin. It will depend on the cost of the roof covering material. Total cost, that will be T will be equal to 2P plus R. P will be cost of purlin, and R is the cost of the roof covering material. This is what is purlin? Support roof covering material that you are going to use. For that you have to provide the slope, that is H by L by 2. Pitch is rise upon span, H by L. Now the live load for the sloping roof with slope greater than 10 degrees adopted as 0.75 kilonewton per meter square, less than the 0.02 kilonewton per meter square for every degree increase in the slope over 10 degrees subject to the, this is what the basic idea how we are going to use the provide the economical spacing of the truss. Now we have to use the bay and the other thing. This is what the basic idea about the, thank you.